Look at her, she's spittin' nerdy. Look at her, she's spittin' nerdy. Can't you see she's spittin' nerdy? Look at her, she's spittin' nerdy.
Hey guys, I am currently doing the carnivore diet. Now a lot of you are probably very confused or extremely skeptical or even maybe a little bit angry right now. But I'd like to invite you to take a second and make the decision to go into this with an open mind. Forget about everything you think you know and look at this just with a fresh perspective. I was extremely skeptical of this diet when I first heard about it. I thought it was crazy and ridiculous, but as I do with everything that I'm super skeptical about but has a lot of anecdote to back it up, I started doing a deep dive into the science and here I am now, trying it out. That being said, I am absolutely not recommending this diet to anyone. I don't think we have nearly enough research to prove that this is healthy long term. I also think it's really extreme, and while it has shown some crazy, cool, fascinating results for some people, I don't think everyone needs to be doing this. I also don't think it's inherently healthier for the average person than eating meat with a ton of vegetables every day. And so when I go through this science, just keep in mind that I'm kind of playing devil's advocate and talking through the theory and the research that does support it. So today I'm going to take you through what I eat in a day on the carnivore diet, but first I want to talk about why this diet is not actually as crazy as it seems. I first became fascinated by this listening to a few people's anecdotes on various podcasts. Then I just started seeing it come up everywhere over and over again, and so I started to look into the science behind it. And long story short, I ended up finding a book called Good Calories, Bad Calories, and this book absolutely blew me away. It is a extremely thorough counter-argument to all of the common beliefs held about nutrition. I'm giving you homework because I think even though this book is slightly biased in the opposite direction of the general consensus, it is an amazing read and it really opens your eyes to how much we really don't know that we think we know. But you guys know me, I'm not gonna give you homework and make you go pay for the means to do your homework. So as with all of my other book recommendations, I have partnered with Audible to get this book to you either for free or for a very discounted price, whichever method you choose. If you're already an Amazon Prime member, Amazon is running a super awesome promo for Prime month. You can get the Audible membership for $4.95 per month for the next 3 months. So it's essentially getting 3 months for the price of one. Then after that, it's the regular price of $14.95 per month, and then this ends at the end of July. So if you're watching this after July, or if you're not an Amazon Prime member, you can use my code, which is Marissa, to get a 30-day free trial and your first audiobook for free. And if you stick with the membership, it gets you 1 free audiobook per month plus access to an insane amount of other audiobooks at discounted prices. I commute 2 hours a day for work, so having an Audible membership is kind of essential for my sanity. So I do most of my audiobook listening in the car or just on my phone when I'm cooking, but you can also, you know, it's summer, take your audiobooks to the beach with you. If you're going on any summer road trips, definitely get yourself an Audible membership and download this book because it will last you to wherever you're going, because it's a really long book. If you don't want to learn something along the way and just kind of want to be entertained or whatever, Audible has like the largest selection of audiobooks on the planet. So to get any of these discounted offers, go to audible.com/Marissa, that's M-A-R-I-S-A, 1S, all lowercase, or text Marissa, M-A-R-I-S-A, 1S, all lowercase, to 500 and they'll get you the info. TLDR, you have homework. You need to listen to this book. And to do that for free or do it at a super discounted price and have a whole library open for your choosing, go to audible.com/Marissa or text Marissa to 500 and then look for Good Calories, Bad Calories, listen to it. Let me know what you think. So why Good Calories, Bad Calories? Why do I think this book is so important that I'm actually giving you homework to go listen to? There's a lot of fantastic info in this book, but I will limit my discussion down to what's relevant to the carnivore diet, since that's what this video is about. One of the primary case studies that this book cites as proof that this diet is actually feasible is the Inuit people. The Inuit people are a group of people who have essentially lived off of pretty much only meat for hundreds of years. And, you know, they're still around and haven't all died. That in itself is pretty conclusive proof that it is possible to survive on only meat. Additionally, other scientists have visited and stayed with different groups within the Inuit people, and they lived off of the same diet of only meat, and the scientists themselves were also able to maintain their health. So that shows that it's not just an adaptation that the Inuit people themselves develop, but rather that this could be a diet that's feasible for a much larger group of people. One of the biggest objections to the carnivore diet, and definitely my biggest objection when I started looking into it, is that we have this idea that we have to have varied diets where we consume lots of different foods from lots of different places in order to get all of the nutrients we need. And this is not really the case. Animal foods and red meats especially contain all of the essential amino acids, which are building blocks of protein, and they're in the ideal ratios that maximize utility in humans. They also contain 12 of the 13 essential vitamins in large quantities. But Marissa, you're missing a vitamin. You said 12 of 13. Well, guess what? That last vitamin is vitamin C. And now you might be thinking, but Marissa, without vitamin C, we get scurvy. But heh, this is where, this was like the most mind-blowing, fascinating part of the book, in my opinion. I was literally listening to it as I was walking to the gym, and I was just like, oh my God, it all makes sense. As it turns out, when you're not consuming carbohydrates, you need a lot less vitamin C, because carbohydrates break down into glucose, and glucose is very structurally similar to vitamin C. So the receptors that are there to uptake all of the vitamin C, oftentimes if you're consuming carbohydrates, those get blocked off by the glucose, and then you can't absorb as much vitamin C, so you need to consume a lot more. But if you're not consuming a ton of carbohydrates and you have a limited amount of glucose in your body, the vitamin C that is present is much more easily absorbed, so you need a lot less. And meat just so happens to have the appropriate amount of vitamin C in it to give your body exactly what it needs when you're not consuming carbohydrates. Isn't that crazy? I thought that was so cool. Another argument that comes up a lot surrounding the carnivore diet is that carbohydrates are necessary because the body needs glucose to function. And it is true that certain mechanisms in the body do need glucose, but you don't need to consume carbohydrates in order to have glucose in your body. Of the 3 macronutrients, carbs, protein, and fat, 2 of them break down into glucose. Carbs and protein both break down into glucose. So if you have any excess protein that you're consuming, you have plenty of glucose. In fact, it actually gives you enough glucose to not put you into ketosis most of the time. A lot of the people who do the zero carb carnivore diet are not actually in ketosis. So when you do this diet, you get plenty of glucose for your body to function as it needs to. I also know that a lot of people are very concerned about saturated fat and red meat overall. Good calories, bad calories actually goes in depth into why our views of saturated fat are so skewed and why it's actually really not a bad thing for us to be consuming. But essentially all of the studies that show an association between saturated fat and red meat and things like cardiovascular disease and cancer literally only show the association. No study has been able to prove that either saturated fat or red meat actually cause something negative to happen to the body in combination with a healthy lifestyle. People who eat more saturated fat and red meat also tend to smoke more and be more sedentary, which are 2 things that have been proven do increase the risk for things like cardiovascular disease and cancer. That's why red meat is only listed as a class 2A carcinogen according to the World Health Organization, because no link has actually been proven. That's what that class means. Also, it's the same idea with cholesterol, which I'm actually going to go into detail about later because I listened to a freaking fascinating podcast about cholesterol. But the causation of increased dietary cholesterol leading to cardiovascular disease has also not been proven. And then one last thing before I go make my breakfast. The book actually cites a study that I have linked down there where I think it was 3 people were put on a regular diet of fruits and vegetables and meat and just like the general regular healthy diet, and were monitored for a few weeks and had all of their levels tested, and then they were put into the clinic and put on only meat, and they had all of their levels and such tested for a few weeks and then were released to go home, where for the remainder of the year they only consumed meat. And by the end of the year they did a series of evaluations and found that they were mentally very on point. Their health had not suffered in any way. In fact, they all seemed to be a little bit healthier. They had good blood pressure, they had no vitamin deficiencies, they had no kidney damage, and they also did not appear to enter into ketosis, which would not necessarily be a bad thing, but that's just interesting. But yeah, this whole thing is just, it's so fascinating to me. Like, I ended up getting sucked into a zero carb carnivore diet Facebook group, and it's just so crazy to see so many stories of thousands of people who have cured diseases by going full carnivore, and it's just, it's crazy. Anyway, it is now time for breakfast. I'm gonna go have a giant ribeye steak. So as of today, I'm only allowing myself to consume meat and ghee. Ghee is essentially clarified butter, which means it's 100% lactose free. So if I were to have any lactose intolerance issue, that should not be a problem with ghee. As this week goes on, if I can tell that my body is just really craving eggs or something, then I might add that back in as well. But for now, it's just meat. So breakfast is gonna be a little bit of ghee, and also just a little bit of salt and pepper. Everyone in the like zero carb carnivore communities essentially says that a little bit of seasoning is okay because it's a very small amount, I guess, so we're going with those rules. Just for proof for how much I'm about to eat, it's 1.09 pounds. So we're gonna go for this. Ugh. Oh wow. Okay, that's juicy. Just realized I didn't season the other side of the meat before I put it in the pan, but I think it'll be okay. Looking good, looking yummy. Well, this is cooling down enough to eat. I'm gonna tell you really quick about the fascinating stuff that I learned about cholesterol. With cholesterol, the common belief is that there's two kinds of cholesterol. HDL, which is the good cholesterol, and LDL, which is the bad cholesterol. You want your HDL levels to be higher and your LDL levels to be lower. But I was listening to the Muscle Expert podcast with Ben Pakulski, and he was interviewing Dr. Nadir Ali, who is a cardiologist who has been in this field for almost 30 years now. And he was talking about how the idea that LDL is inherently and only bad is a misconception. Essentially what he was saying is that because LDL survived so long throughout human evolution, it has to have some purpose. If it was only bad, we would have evolved to just get rid of it. So the reason I bring this up is because when people do keto or the carnivore diet, they often notice that their cholesterols change drastically and often their LDL is elevated. But what Dr. Ali was arguing is that this isn't inherently a bad thing because LDL has specific functions in the body and it's necessary for the body. One of the biggest functions of LDL is in cellular repair. Cell walls have cholesterol in them as part of their structure to keep them fluid and rigid and do what they need to do. So LDL, being cholesterol, plays a part in that, and without it we wouldn't be able to repair cells as efficiently, and damaged cells lead to malignancy and cancer. Also, according to this doctor, it is a very strong host defense mechanism. So what this means is bacteria comes into our body sometime via various mechanisms, and then the bacteria will send out little like scout proteins to see if the biome is ripe for replication. And so these scouts go out, and then if the environment's good, they come back and the bacteria starts replicating, and then you have a bacteria infection. But LDL actually stops these little scout proteins, which stops the bacteria from replicating. So there's actually a study done in mice. They had two groups of mice. In one group, they suppressed LDL. In the other group, they just had their normal LDL, and they gave both some bacteria, and the LDL suppressed mice died at a much more drastic rate than the mice with the normal LDL. And the third thing, and what was kind of most fascinating to me, is that LDL essentially helps transport fat energy through the blood. It's like, you know, oil and water don't mix, fat and blood don't mix, so it needs little helpers to help the fat energy go through the blood. One of these helpers is LDL. So as soon as I heard that, I was like, oh my god, it all makes sense why everyone freaks out when their LDL spikes when they're doing keto, because when you're keto, you're burning fat energy for fuel, so you have more fat energy in your body, so you need more LDL to transport it so that you can use it efficiently. And I'm so glad I finally got that answer, because that was one of the things that really confused me about keto, because people would post in forums and be like, oh my god, my cholesterol is crazy, and everyone's like, don't worry about it, it's fine. And people in keto groups are so dogmatic that no one takes the time to actually explain it, and now I have an explanation. Oh my god, I almost dropped my phone into the sink. I got a little too excited there. But going off of this, there was another study where they took people and had them fast for 7 days. Now, fasting, if done appropriately, can be a very healthy thing. You would expect that your biomarkers would correspondingly get more healthy from the fast, but guess what? People fasted for 7 days and their LDL increased by 70%. If you think about it, this makes sense, because like keto, when you're fasting, well, when you're fasting, you are in ketosis. So you're mobilizing more of your fat for energy, so you need more LDL to transport it. So all of this is to say that a lot of people are very concerned about the cholesterol when they're doing things like keto or the carnivore diet, but having elevated LDL might not necessarily be a bad thing under the right circumstances. Again, I am playing devil's advocate here. I haven't looked into this too much beyond listening to the podcast and reading some of the relevant studies, but it's super interesting. Breakfast time, breakfast time. Nom nom nom, breakfast time, yeah. Well, that took me about an hour, but we're done. I am experiencing complete palate fatigue right now. Like, one more bite of steak does not sound at all appealing. But the thing is, I'm also not craving anything either. Like, usually I feel like I could get up and eat something. But right now, nothing sounds good. I feel completely satiated and not at all desiring anything. The one thing that worries me about that is that I didn't finish eating that steak until like 5:30, because I started at like 4:30, because I just fasted most of the day today just because I wasn't hungry. So I don't know if I'm gonna be hungry for dinner. So it is almost 11 o'clock and I am not at all hungry. Like, genuinely, I'm not craving anything. If anything at all, I'm a little bit thirsty. That's pretty much it. From what I read when I was preparing to do this, that is pretty normal. I guess in the first few days, your body can have some kind of strange hunger signals. On one hand, I really kind of just want to listen to my body and not eat, but on the other hand, I have a workout that I'm doing tomorrow that I want to crush it. And I think I need more fuel. So what I'm gonna do is cook up a little bit of I'm gonna cook all of the salmon and then proceed to eat this over hopefully the next 3 days. So I'm just gonna cook it all now, eat what I can, and not really worry about it if I can't get in all of my calories for today. So I wish you could see how pink it is. It looks a lot more orange on camera, but it's so beautifully pink in person. It's just, it's gonna be delicious. Wild caught salmon, perfect. My salmon is done. It's actually looking really good and it smells really good too. So I'm a little bit more tempted to eat more of this than I thought I would be. So I'm just gonna take all of that back to my desk with me and just nibble on it as I work and see how much I feel like eating. I'm gonna stop when I get full, and yeah, that'll be what I eat today. That salmon was actually much better than I anticipated, so I was able to eat a decent amount of it, which is good news for my workout tomorrow. It is getting late, so I think it's time for me to go to sleep, but I have so much more that I want to say about this topic. I will be vlogging my entire week doing the carnivore diet, so that video will be coming out after this one at some point. So make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss that video, because that's going to be a lot of fun. If you have any questions, comments, rebuttals towards anything, please leave it down in the comments below. I would love to discuss it further. And also, don't forget to listen to Good Calories, Bad Calories, because I'd love to have a conversation about that book as well. But in the meantime, please give this video a big thumbs up because it really does support me and my channel, and I really appreciate it. Please share this video with all of your friends and your family and your carnivore buddies. Subscribe for more videos. I promise it won't be carnivore forever. Hit that notification button so you don't miss my future videos, and I will see you very soon. Bye.